Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for waiting. A very busy day. Good news, our app is coming very soon in about 10 days. So we're going to have a safe space to go live and chat and have actual news and positivity. And I don't know how about you, but I'm craving positivity. Not being naive or not being, disregarding to what happens around us, but I'm craving actual factual positivity and unity. And that's what I'm missing from any type of platform, which is really, aside from security, aside from this dictatorship that I think we're already in. um, I'm just craving positivity and kindness. And I think that's what we are in need of. And honestly, this is just a preview. This reality show is about to start. So I'm very happy to update you that it's coming very, very soon. I'm aiming for November 22nd. And so this will be invite to our platform will be sent to all subscribers, free subscribers, paid subscribers. If you decide to support me, I'm grateful for you very, very much so, but you don't have to pay. You can just sign up on honest.substack.com. That's where you get your actual news every night. And also, that's where I'm going to use your email to invite you to our own app. We'll be on Android and on Apple. So everybody will be welcome. Okay. And it will be free. So, you don't have to cash out anything, just a place where we're safe. We are productive. We have actual news. Also, another thing that I featured in tonight's newsletter is that we will be having expert town halls, meaning what I would love to channel is productivity at this point. And I would love for us to learn how to prepare for what's to come. When it comes to budgeting, when it comes to sustainable living, when it comes to what the hell happens with Medicare, Medicaid, where do you buy medicine if something were to be canceled? When it comes to legal affairs, when it comes to, anything from rent controlled apartments versus not, how can they raise your price or not? Tariffs are coming. Will it affect you or not? Also, immigration. If you are a naturalized citizen, as I am, or you have somebody who is an immigrant, what can we do to prepare just to be on the safe side? And this will be starting soon. I posted, it's my pinned post on everything on X and on Threads and on Blue Sky. So if you just can share it, so people who are licensed professionals who have experience can see it, apply, and join us and teach us something useful. And so then we're meeting for something productive, for something, we're channeling our anxiety and energy that's building up within us into something useful and something positive. Because again, we need positive thoughts, not just thoughts and prayers, but activity. Okay. Great news here. Hey, hello, hello. This is positive news, and I want to have positive news. Yes, we're gonna get towards this shit show today. We will, but we're still human. We need good emotions. Safe spaces are positive. Hey, Daniel. Yes, exactly. And also, what I talked about to few professionals today for the expert town halls is teach us how to survive. Right? Stress management. I'm not a person who meditates, for instance. What can I do? Right? I understand I have to eat healthy and walk and blah blah blah, but give us, pinpoints. We can hold each other accountable, right? So I love the resist movement. And politically speaking, yes, we are in it. And yes, we're going hard for it. But when it comes to us as humans, I can't survive resisting and being anxious for 4 years. This can manifest in sickness. So I'm a positive spirited person. Let's be, you know, realistic, but also let's be positive because 4 years will pass by. We gotta get our, hats on a swivel and win things back and come back swinging. So how do we do that? And that's the news. Okay, so let's get to the actual news today. President Biden met with Israeli President Herzog at the Oval Office. And that's where all those viral clips came by. And people from Israel and Israeli journalists have shared the clip of Biden, they said, threatening a journalist. And that's why I shared the actual script or the actual manuscript or whatever you call it. Losing a word now. Anyway, I shared it on the platform so you can read what he exactly said. And so what he said, I have a readout about the meeting, but he said, do you think, well, it's a journalist. She's from Israel. She reports for Israel 13 channel. She's DC based, so Biden probably knows her. And she asked, can you get a hostage deal before you leave? Meanwhile, Biden, as much as any journalist, knows that Qatar left the negotiations, that Israel has replaced their defense minister, who will not, who was not going with Netanyahu, and now there is somebody called Israel. Don't know the last name. Forgot the last name, but first name is Israel because it stands out. I'll Google it when I show you a video. I want to be precise here, but he installed somebody who is a yes person, right? And so they are not interested in hostage deal. And Hamas is not interested in hostage deal. So asking Biden, can you do it before you leave? We kind of all know the answer, right? And it takes two to tango, but if there is literally no person willing to tango, regardless how loud you play the tango music, that ain't gonna happen. And so, as a joke, Trump, God forbid, Biden said, do you think, well, she said, can you get the hostage deal right before you leave? And he said, do you think you can keep from getting hit in the head by a camera behind you? Because, they're screaming before the meeting. And so here's the video. It was shared with the notion as to he threatened the journalist saying, you're going to get hit with the camera, or can you get hit with the camera, which is not true. Here's the actual clip.
President Biden, do you think that you can get a hostage deal by the end of your term?
You think you can get hit in the head by a camera behind you? All right.
And so she, crying, posted all of it. But he said, do you think you can keep from getting hit in the head by a camera behind you? He didn't answer any questions before or after. So here's a readout on the meeting. Before their meeting at the Oval Office, as you saw, President Biden and Israeli President Herzog exchanged greetings and discussed ongoing issues in Israel. Herzog shared tragic news of recent rocket attacks from Lebanon, which resulted in Israeli casualties and damage. He also highlighted a recent drone attack on a kindergarten in Israel. Herzog thanked Biden for his steadfast support of Israel and his ongoing efforts to bring home the hostages held in Gaza, emphasizing the need for their safe return. The two leaders also discussed the role of Tehran in destabilizing the region and promoting anti-Semitism. Herzog expressed gratitude for Biden's historical support of Israel, particularly after October 7th attack, and presented him with the gift. It was an archaeological artifact from Jerusalem, symbolizing the strength of Israel, and it had Joseph engraved on it, which, Joseph Biden. Biden reaffirmed his commitment to Israel, reflecting on his father's legacy of supporting Jewish causes, and both leaders expressed their shared commitment to Zionism. And Biden said, I always got in trouble for saying that you don't have to be Jewish to be a Zionist. And somehow Israeli media is not sharing that, which is a very provocative and controversial statement for Biden to do. But we're out of the election season. So, and it's Dark Brandon. He says it as is. And Israelis are sharing that fabricated quote with the hit in the head thing, which isn't true, but aren't sharing that he says, I'm a Zionist, So for that reason, here's the reality. Now, Biden afterwards also met with the Indonesian leader. It's a newly elected leader. I understand that the White House presented it as, okay, he went to DC and Biden invited him and they're talking about Indo-Pacific and, friendship, lovey-dovey. But here's the reality, though. On November 10th, Indonesian President Prabowo arrived in Washington, D.C. So he's been here a couple of days. He's also staying to meet somebody else, if you know what I mean. So this is his first international tour as president following a state visit to Beijing. So he went to Beijing to talk to Xi, and then he came to talk to Biden. Now, what do you think he did in Beijing? To keep in mind, he attended the BRICS summit in Kazan, or at least, let me have the exact readout. Yes. So Indonesia's foreign minister Sugiono, who also joined him in DC and Beijing, he joined the leader, and he announced the shift at the most recent BRICS summit in Kazan, Russia, that Indonesia is now officially became a new BRICS partner, right? Not fully a member, but a partner. Other partners are Malaysia, Thailand, Vietnam, Turkey, Nigeria, Cuba, and Kazakhstan, right? And BRICS certainly stands for Brazil and Russia and India and Colombia, right? And Saudi Arabia. Now, so he went to Beijing, and what did he discuss? So China's biggest issue, right? And that's why we're gathering partners, we meaning United States, gathering partners in Indo-Pacific, because the whole idea is under the notion that China owns the South China Sea. That is what, in their mind, allows them to declare Taiwan theirs, Taiwan and other islands. So Indonesia signed with Xi two things. One is that they declared that they are, let me have an exact readout. They are neutral in terms of that decision. And they say we don't, we are neutral. We have a neutral stance on the South China Sea, meaning if you want to take over Taiwan, fine. But they also signed an agreement with China to collaborate militarily in case there were a conflict. So Indonesian guy signs off with BRICS, travels to Beijing, says, you want to take Taiwan, take it. And if you want to take it, I'm going to join and help you. And then he comes to Washington, D.C. to meet with Biden. He also expressed that he congratulated Trump and in a personal phone call, and said he expressed his desire to meet in person. Trump tomorrow is in DC in person. From why I'm guesstimating that Indonesian guy is going to meet Trump tomorrow in DC, because both of them are in DC. Next thing, Indonesian leader Prabowo is traveling to attend APEC summit in Lima, Peru. And Biden is traveling on Thursday. He's leaving to Peru. And from there, Biden is traveling to G20 summit in Rio, in Brazil, and Indonesian guy as well. So he has an extra day. So we'll see. So that is the reality, right? White House, Karine Jean-Pierre, the White House press secretary, was asked by a reporter from Indonesia to comment on the stance of their government. Take a look.
Extensive territorial claims in the South China Sea, and how concerned is the administration about this?
So we continue to encourage Indonesia to work with their legal experts to make sure any agreement they make with the PRC is in according with international law, especially the UN Convention on the Law of the Sea. I don't have anything beyond that. I read out at the
Yeah, so Daniel, I agree. Biden caught up too late. I mean, they have been discussing with all the leaders for years. I mean, at least 3 years in, as long as the war happens in Ukraine, because China is really monitoring what is the West, so-called the West, doing with Ukraine, because that gives them an indication what's going to happen with Taiwan, right? So too late, I don't know, but what he's using now is UN Charter, saying, oh, you're going to be prosecuted for this, right? UN Charter declares nation sovereign, and as much as Taiwan is very interesting for Xi to conquer, it is a sovereign country, so they have to respect it. And yes, you're right. Indonesia has been a good ally for China, to China from a long time. Nothing new. Exactly. Right. So I just want to be realistic when we are talking about meetings and the lovey-dovey friendship. Okay. So VP Harris, afterwards, Biden met with Vice President Harris. They had a lunch. They have a lunch every month. It's one time a month thing. It's nothing special. It's nothing urgent. It's nothing crazy. She arrived for lunch. And what is special is that look how the White House workers, or all the employees and aides, met her. Take a look.
Got your low. Camera crew in the way. Camera.
Standing ovation, MVP chants. And so she addressed the crowd and she says, quote, "We still have a lot of work to do. So thank you all very much. Listen, we do the best work anybody could do, which is to dedicate ourselves to the people, to public service, to lifting folks up, knowing we have the power. And when we do that work, we make a difference. And you all are a part of doing the work every single day. And I'm so grateful to each of you. So let's get back to work because we still have work to get done. And I'm sending all my love and thanks. Thank you, everyone." I guess she's talking about the work that still it's 2 months into administration. So, or until transition of power. So that's the work she's referring to. Real applause that the new management will not ever get. Indeed. Indeed. Indeed, Sierra. Yeah. Hey, Jack. I love it. So glad they did that for Kamala. Exactly. Yeah. So distressing, Ruby. Yeah. It's true. It's true. Yeah. Well, you know, last you talked about distressing. Here's something stressing. Now I'll play a short video. They recorded this video in 2022. They released it now. Why do I know that? I have a program. I ran it through the program. It was recorded in 2022. Then I got it confirmed by other networks. It was recorded in 2022. Now they released this video where he talks about Trump, what he's going to do on first day, blah, blah, blah. And they release also separate pieces of that stuff. Because if you think, what is Trump doing? Because people are like, where's Trump? Where's Trump? So Elon Musk is interviewing all the folks for the administration. And certainly he got himself a weird spot outside the administration. We're going to talk about it towards the end. But this is what Trump is doing. He's just sitting there on the phone, scrolling, I guess, and maybe even hope that's what he's going to do the next 4 years. So, you know, whatever videos they're releasing, it's not him recording it right away. But they spread today a notion as to, remember how we talked about reparations for African Americans? He's flipping the narrative, trying to, what I guesstimate, now this is my guesstimation, he's not going to do anything about it. It's not feasible. He's not going to do it. His friends are heavy investors in Harvard and Yale and all that kind of stuff, and MIT and all this. But he's trying to get the narrative that, oh my God, he's going to not just eliminate DEI, but he's going to tax universities and get reparations for white people who didn't score places at those universities. Now, through the lens of what the hell is this BS? Listen to this video. It is the only Trump video for today.
Furthermore, I will direct the Department of Justice to pursue federal civil rights cases against schools that continue to engage in racial discrimination and schools that persist in explicit, unlawful discrimination under the guise of equity will not only have their endowments taxed, but through budget reconciliation, I will advance a measure to have them fined up to the entire amount of their endowment. A portion of the seized funds will then be used as restitution for victims of these illegal and unjust policies that hurt our country so badly. Colleges have gotten hundreds.
I'm over. Restitutions for what, white people who didn't score a ticket to Harvard? Well, that's a very funny joke here. Very funny. Trump would get the applause by his supporters. He just needs to say they're eating the dog. Yeah, exactly. Hey, Vivian, are they really going to give up on us? They're not. I mean, I don't see exactly. I'm just reporting the facts. I don't see anything being done rather than recount for Bob Casey in Pennsylvania. So I'm just going to stick to what I know. If there is something, I will be the first to report for you. I'm just saying what I know. And I have my hopes and feelings. He still is investing in the cheap cadaverish makeup. Yeah. Is he talking about himself? Yeah. So, you know, all this retributions, restitutions, what is this nonsense? And this is very not feasible to do. Now, he can eliminate DEI. That he can do. But the rest, I mean, do you think he's going to bother about any white people to give them any whatever reimbursements? No, he's bothering about himself. Look at the freaking picture again. Just look at it. Do you think he's bothered about any type of restitutions, whatever? No. This guy's checked out. He's all over Twitter. So what do you know? Okay. Now to good news. First Lady today, First Lady Jill Biden celebrated diplomacy through food at the White House reception. And this was very cute, very beautiful in the East Room with music and food and all the speeches. So First Lady Jill Biden recently shared heartfelt remarks about her experiences with food, family, and diplomacy at the White House reception, reflecting on her visit to Asheville, North Carolina, where she worked with chefs Jose Andres and Katie Button. She served to serve meals to hurricane survivors. Remember, I reported on it. There were those pictures and everything. So First Lady emphasized how food fosters connection and healing, not only within communities, but also across nations. She drew a parallel between the personal connections formed over meals and diplomacy she has witnessed in her time at the White House. FLOTUS also recognized former executive chef Chris Comerford for her contributions to both American cuisine and diplomacy, highlighting her ability to bring together cultures through food. As the Bidens approach their final months in office, FLOTUS expressed gratitude for the opportunity to serve and work toward a more peaceful, connected world. The festive event was marked with jazz music, food, drinks, and a lively atmosphere with many guests, including Chef Katie Button and former Chief of Staff Tina Chen, enjoying the evening. And, why does it actually apply to diplomacy? Because whenever they're meeting, they're welcoming for a state dinner or any other occasion, a foreign leader, they create a whole menu to recognize the culture, right? So I was there when they had the state dinner for Kenya, for instance, and the whole menu was adjusted, and the drinks and the food and everything always has to embrace the whoever is joining. For Japan, it was such a beautiful. Everything was done like this cherry blossoms, like a garden, and you enter the White House. Everything was completely decorated. The food was appropriately, styled and prepared. So such a beautiful occasion, and they bring different types of china and all that kind of stuff to eat from. So really beautiful. I really hope you got a picture with Jose Andres. Now they're not taking pictures. Food is universal language of love and diplomacy. Exactly. Yeah. And Vivian, I know you love him. I know you love him because when I was covering the Clintons, you said, yeah, you were all excited about Chef Andres. Yeah. Okay. So now let's talk about the White House briefing. There was a briefing today. I showed you one clip. Let's look at some more. So Karine Jean-Pierre was asked why President Biden has invited Trump for a meeting at the Oval Office. And that's what she said.
I mean, look, that's an easy question to answer, honestly, when it comes to why President Biden is doing this, because he believes in the norms. He believes in our institution. He believes in a peaceful transfer of power. You heard him speak to this directly just last week when he was in the Rose Garden 2 days after the American people made their decision on this election. And it is important to him. It is important not just because it's important to him, but it's important to the American people. He said the American people deserve this. They deserve a peaceful transfer of power. They deserve a smooth transition. And that's what you're going to see. He reached out to President-elect Trump and asked for a meeting, for them to meet in the Oval Office. You're going to see that tomorrow. That is what is the norm. That is what is supposed to happen. And also that's what the American people deserve.
Hey, Bonnie. Hello. You missed some updates. I'm going to update again at the very end about our app and everything that's coming up. So, Yash, don't let me get banned. Last time I talked specifically about that readout. YouTube knocked me out. So I'm not going to test it this time. But the denied any claims of phone call with Trump. I don't understand. Is there a law to get liars in prison? The talk of the town, I'm not going to name names because I'm going to get banned here. That readout that I shared yesterday, where the aide to the Russian leader said that, listen, Trump has to pay up to those who put him in power. It was very straightforward language. It wasn't even diplomatic. More than that, it was a little mobster talk. Like, come on, you know we did it, so you got to do this. The talk of the town is that call that the Kremlin keeps denying went not the way they intended. Because Trump, again, allegedly to, European media, they're saying that Trump is tending to pull folks over the table, to put it this way. You put me into power, now I'm in power, so I'm going to do what the hell I want to do. And so they're alleging that that's how the phone call went, that he said, well, I don't want to be a yes man, I'm going to do whatever I want. And now Russian leader is serving China first and foremost. And so I think that it wasn't about Ukraine. Let's not get it twisted. Trump would not fight for Ukraine against Putler. But, that's a good name. I guess YouTube has not recognized that. Putler. Okay. So Trump is not going to fight for Ukraine against Putler. Not at all. I think it's about China. Because Russia wants Tesla factory to be in Russia instead of China, because they have same resources, they claim. For Musk to do that, now imagine that's a huge change, so it could be that Trump got caught in between of those two, right? Putler wants to serve C. Trump is in between Putler and Musk has his own things, and his entire wealth is tied up to Tesla that is producing cars at this point in China, mainly. There is another factory in Mexico. There's another factory in also in Germany. But believe me, that's a drop in the ocean as opposed to what they're generating from the Chinese production. So my understanding is that this is how that conversation went. They could not agree on the pro-China approach because Trump, and that's why, if you think about it, yesterday in that readout, I'm not going to show it again to get banned. I took courses for hate thing. They said hate speech. So I had to take courses and answer questions that I don't hate people. So anyway, I'm not going to do it again. All of that is BS. I was just reading out that statement that these folks issued regarding Trump. And they said, you have to pay up to those who put you in power. And then they mentioned the exact sentence saying, during campaign, American leaders tend to run on an issue, but it doesn't mean that they have to use the same issue or follow up on their promises when elected. And so you have to pay up to those who put you in power. Now think about it. How many times did Trump said, China, 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 we're going to tax and, all that kind of stuff. We're going to do tariffs and China is bad and China virus and blah, 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 right? Putler heavily relies on China in terms of militarily, in terms of the trade and BRICS and all that kind of stuff. So I think that's where the cookie crumbles at this point. So if Trump were to satisfy Putler and not satisfy Musk, what could happen, right? That's why Musk has a leverage on him. He's approving all the administration folks. So would they sabotage Trump? But ultimately that Trump is commander-in-chief and he can, even deport Musk or whatever, right? If he explains it to the court that it is an interest of, the country, and certainly Musk has violated a bunch of everything as much as Trump, so he has leverage on him. So it's beginning to look like Christmas everywhere you go. So we'll see. We'll see. That is what I'm seeing. Everything Musk does fight subsidies. Exactly. Right. And he's relying with Starlink on governmental contracts, on our federal subsidies that we're paying with our tax dollars. Right. So, it's good when you fight, like this situation when you can unite when you're fighting together against the same enemy. But when you won, you don't have a motivation anymore. That's why I shared it yesterday when Musk started posting it, the blue states, you didn't have to have an ID. This is so weird. So they're like still in this victim mode. Meanwhile, you won. So now it's about what you're going to do next. You can't go against somebody because you're already now at the top. And what united them is being against somebody. So for this reason, what's going to be next? That is the main thing to watch, not his appointments, because all his appointments will turn into disappointments, physically and theoretically, because that they're not going to deliver, right? That's my take. But the wild card is what China will do. Exactly. So what China can do, Ruby, is to push Trump. They can start doing some more drills around Taiwan. And because Trump wants to cancel the CHIPS Act, we will completely rely on Taiwan for the chips and that type of stuff, right? So now if we see them playing around Taiwan, that means Putler could not deliver. Xi is pissed, and he's going to start doing this. Or anything around Alaska. So we'll see. And I'll be first to report because I'm a nerd and I monitor like troops movement and all that kind of stuff. That's what I do at night because that's me. It's really Trump though, Jay Harden. Hey, does he have enough cognitive executive functioning? I don't think so. No. I showed you the picture, him sitting with the phone, grandpa with the phone. But Russia put them into power. And Russia did that by promising Xi that America will bow down. And in case that will not happen, all of that entanglements, they will somehow crush. And so we'll see. But to your point, Jay, is it Trump physically? No. Calling out blue states for not supporting, exactly. But pre-select doesn't care about Taiwan. Yeah, I mean, if you talk about Trump, he can point Taiwan on a map if he wished to. But Musk is relying on China. I think if you ask me, I think he came into that game because of Xi, and that was the intention, to control Trump and have Musk sponsoring that entire election and be close to him to monitor Trump, because Trump can turn around and do whatever. And so now they're preventing that whatever. So, we'll see. We'll see. That's the constellation here. So if I were us, I would be watching it. So one thing, and that's why we'll have expert town halls. One thing is to prepare what's next, to be wise, to learn something, to have positive-minded community, like-minded community, so you can physically and mentally survive. Okay? It's one thing. Another story is to see it for what matters here most. Not those appointments, right? Bullshit stuff. I have it. I'm going to read it out to you. But I want us to focus on the right thing. Right thing is that they did install somebody to make America bow down. Congress is not going to like it. American business folks are not going to like it. Bunch of industries are not going to like it. Banks are not going to like it, bowing down to China. But, that will be the thing. So if we see, let's say, so what could be next, right? If China were to push and win and Trump would have an upper hand, Musk will have an upper hand. He can push for the notion by Congress to evoke, let's say, the 25th Amendment, declare Trump crazy, remove him and have Vance. Vance will do what Musk and Thiel says. But until then, Trump is an issue. He won them the election because he has the appeal. Now that's where the cookie crumbles. Wait, why does he want to undo CHIPS Act? It's a thing because it's just anti-Biden thing. It's an anti-Biden thing, and also that's China likes that. More if US relies on Taiwan more, China likes it because we're weaker. Unions won't like sending work overseas again. Exactly, Bonnie. And the same story, I'm going to show you a clip today when they openly talked about firing generals. do you think Pentagon is going to let it go? The generals who worked so hard and earned pension, and now suddenly they will be fired? What, by Elon Musk? Just because he decided to scrap $6 trillion off of the budget? Like, do you think that's going to fly with them? This is military. That has weapons and strength and unity. And you think you're going to come in with the Fox News anchor and just start doing this? So let's see for realistically how it works. And we have 2 months. The bad stuff for them is the same story as with this immunity. How less than smart was that to push that to grant literally Biden the immunity? The only thing that saved them, that Biden would never evoke, right, or use this immunity, because that's not kind of that type of person. But that was too early. Now, with all this appointments, with all this stuff right now, even 2 months before Trump is inaugurated, to show the cards so openly and start talking to world leaders so openly and start digging into the war and all that kind of stuff. Of course, Putin pushes him to do it faster, right? Because Putin's running out of money. Iran is running out of money. And I have a readout about that. So for Trump, that's not good. Too early. He can make them leave military. He can dismiss the chiefs, but they'll still be in service. Exactly, right? I'm really sorry if it was my comment that stream. No, Yesh. No, it wasn't you. No, I was just kidding now when you asked me about the leader of Putler, right? And I said, oh, no, don't let me get blocked, so let me use other words. No, you're fine. You're fine. No. Okay, so let's get back to business. Now here, White House briefing. Corinne was asked, what can press expect from meeting with Trump? She starts with spray before the meeting. It's a weird word for press to storm into the Oval Office and scream. And why is it a spray? Because you have one camera on top that you always see filming this stuff. Like now what I showed you with the Israeli president. You have one camera there and it's looking everywhere. It's like spraying on top, right? That's why it's called spray. So that's what she's referring to. Take a look.
Spray at the top in the Oval Office before the meeting commences. And so you all and some of your colleagues will certainly have an opportunity to hear from or to see that, to see the two of them sitting down together. I don't have anything beyond that. I don't have an agenda to share. It's, we try to keep these, certainly these types of conversations private, and just don't have anything beyond that to share. This is part of the process. When we talk about peaceful transfer of power, this is what you're seeing. It's kind of the beginning of that, when you see the current president and the president who's coming in, sitting down in the Oval Office and having a discussion. Don't have any details to share at this time.
This is funny. Putin's running out of money. Iran is running out of money. Even I'm running out of money. See, like, what do you think you have in common with Russia and Iran? We're all running out of money. That could be a good joke. Anyway, so she said the main message for Biden is to literally showcase democracy in action to American people through the easy and peaceful transition of power. Noble, wonderful. It's just on the receiving end, right? It's just like, I'm not a Bible quoter, but remember that story with the swine and the pearls? That's where we at. But okay. So then she was asked, is Biden taking any policy or legislative action, or, I mean, Congress will block it anyway, but or any immunity, anything to protect American people from this administration? Here's the answer.
Yeah, no, I appreciate the question. Certainly don't have any policy announcements or anything like that to speak to. What I can say more broadly, if you will, is say that, look, more broadly, the president's legislation is helping all Americans across the country. And what we would say is that we saw what happened when Republicans in Congress tried to repeal, for example, the ACA, Affordable Care Act. They tried to do it more than 50 times. It was something that they were so laser focused on. And meanwhile, the ACA, the Affordable Care Act, was incredibly popular, became more and more popular. And
so long talk, she leads to when they will try taking away ACA, the people will stand up and speak against it. So it's like on us to stand up and protest and not let it happen, which is, I understand this is, I guess, the core of democracy, but we kind of would like to maybe be protected. And I mean, Biden still has 2 months, you know. Anyway, Doocy Lucy, this guy with these questions, he said, how awkward was it for Biden to meet Harris? Which is like complete BS, because yesterday they were in Arlington next to each other, standing there, you know, and listen to the anthem and speeches and all that kind of stuff. So take a look.
I don't even understand. Why would it be awkward?
Because
Why would it
the president
be,
got
why
squeezed
would,
out for
why would
her,
you,
and then she kept him at arm's length, and then she lost, and now she's
why
back.
would you characterize it as awkward? They have regular lunches. They meet and talk regularly. Why would you
So there's
call it awkward?
weirdness about the way that things have unfolded since
Did you
July
see them?
21st.
Did you see them together yesterday as well, when they honored our veterans and were together during the day, making sure that?
Come on now. Although with those nominations, I wouldn't be surprised if Doocy would be like, you know, like Secretary of Education or something. Anyway, she also was asked whether it was normality for a president-elect to conduct so many negotiations and foreign policy negotiations with foreign leaders as much as Trump does now. And this is a very good question. But here's the answer.
Leaders who
It's
call and
not
congratulate.
unusual. No, it's not unusual.
But does the president have specific views on the president-elect potentially conducting foreign policy on these calls?
I'm not going to get into hypotheticals. I'm just not on what's happening or being said on these calls. I'm just not. It is not unusual for a president-elect to have conversations with world leaders. That's what's happening. I'm just not going to get into hypotheticals. Go ahead, Kate.
I mean, they know. They're not as, you know, they know, right? So Jay says, these fools really want to make everything into World War III, right? The reality show SmackDown or WWF. Okay. Yeah, I'm thinking about wars. Sorry. Yes. I mean, look, we always have to think where the person comes from, right? It's like they say, you can't take, well, Russians say, you can't take a girl out of the village, but never the village out of the girl. Think about where everything in Russia is against women. So take all the jokes and sayings as is. It's very anti-women. Every single joke is anti-women. So, but the point is, look what made Trump Trump. The story with the you're fired, right? The Apprentice thing. That's what he knows. He knows a show. And most of it, he knows reality show. Reality show has nothing to do with the reality, but everything, that was weird. Everything, weird pronunciation, about putting people against each other, because why? It produces engaging content. If you watch any type of reality show, there's always somebody fighting each other, right? You know, grabbing wigs and everything, and just like, you know, it's crazy. So, because that's apparently entertaining to people who are watching. And the main thing is, for reality shows, and this is based on what I spoke about, it was Netflix executive at some point. They said, look, the idea for reality shows is really to make the watcher feel that I'm actually living a better life than this mofo's here, right? They're stirring the pot, Bonnie, exactly, you know, just throwing a bone, and then people run for it and fight each other. You know, in the reality show, really, that's what they're doing. They're giving alcohol. They're, you know, manipulating people in all kinds of ways, telling them he said, she said, and they genuinely are fighting and trying to come to some type of truth. Now, and that's what Trump knows. And that's what made him not just famous. That's what made him money. If you look at his financial path, that is what actually was profitable. And so besides that, he loves it. He loves it, right? How many people do you know who will call you and say, girl or boy, whatever, listen, he said this, she said this, and they'll always have some drama to tell you. But if you ask them, hey, how are you? You know, what did you do? What are your plans, goals, ambitions, any other news but drama? They have nothing to say. So they need your attention somehow, and they win it by creating drama and bring the drama, right? The dramala. So we don't have Kamala, so we have dramala. And that's, so let's see it for what it is, okay? Because that's just having perspective will calm us down. Jack says, if we thought 2016 was a circus, we haven't seen anything yet. Yeah, it's in previews. China just did their J-35 fighter jet first flight. This is a big deal for US because a lot of third world countries would be looking forward to purchase it. Exactly, right? And China will decide who will get it. Yeah. Okay. So judge today delayed the key ruling in Trump's New York criminal case. Amid presidential election, they're claiming Trump has a new status. So the judge presiding over Donald Trump's New York criminal trial has delayed a key ruling on whether his conviction should be set aside following his election as president-elect. Trump's legal team has requested the case to be dismissed, while prosecutors have sought more time to evaluate how to proceed, given the unprecedented circumstances surrounding Trump's new status. So bottom line is, the long readout is in your newsletter, but bottom line is that they will provide their position by November 19th. And the original sentencing date scheduled for November 26th has now been postponed. So on the 19th, we will know more. Do we expect him to be convicted and be put behind bars? Don't expect it. That's not going to happen. They'll twist it and turn it. It's not going to happen. And to remind you that Trump was convicted in May on 34 felony counts. Now, Dana Bash, my take on Dana Bash, but she asked Jim Jordan. She was interviewing Representative Jim Jordan. And she asked them why GOP is not even questioning the truthfulness of this election. Is it because they won? Take a look.
Donald Trump baselessly accused Democrats of cheating. As soon as the results started to come in and showed them going his way, he stopped. Silence. Nothing about that. I haven't seen you or your colleagues claiming any election irregularities, no rampant voting fraud this time. It seems to me that Republicans claim voting fraud and election integrity when you lose and not when you win.
No, I mean, again, as I said before, this election, I think, was the greatest political comeback we've ever seen. I mean, he did something that even Teddy Roosevelt couldn't do, for goodness sake. And the country.
But you think it was a free and fair election? Do you believe that the 2024 election was free and fair?
I do.
And why was it different from 2020 when he lost? Is that the only difference?
No, there were concerns about 2020 with all the mail-in voting that happened. Pennsylvania had like 2-point-something million mail.
And now the election was counted allegedly by Starlink, and 20 million votes are missing, and we're still counting. We don't know about the House constellation, and we were declaring states. I was live covering with you and for you, where we were declaring state with 0% of votes counted. We already claimed it, blue and red, and everything was just wild. So we're not questioning anything when we're winning. I got it. That reminds me on Netflix, there's a new documentary about Martha Stewart, and she complained about her ex-husband cheating on her and said, he's a piece of whatever and whatever. And they said, and kudos to the journalist who said, but didn't you cheat before? She's like, oh, that's a very different thing. I would never leave him. And by the way, I don't think he knew. And the journalist said, no, he knew. So it's that, like tit for tat. Something applies to you, but not to others, and vice versa. What a BS. Now, in terms of international news, some good update. Well, interesting updates. Saudi crown prince slammed Israel, accused it of genocide against Palestinians. Now, why does it matter? Because Saudi Arabia was facilitating the talks. Qatar left the building. Saudi Arabia is now openly talking against Israel. Why? Because they guesstimate Trump to come into power and start taking over Gaza through Israel, of course, and building up what they call it, Monte Carlo, the second Monte Carlo on Gaza land, which really indicates to be true because of that appointment. who's going to be the ambassador and all that kind of stuff to Israel that Trump announced today. I have a readout later, so we're going to take a look at it. Now, at a summit in Riyadh, with Muslim and Arab leaders, Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman accused Israel of perpetrating genocide against Palestinian people. In his remarks, he also cautioned Israel against launching strikes on Iranian territory, a statement that may signal improving relations between Saudi Arabia and Iran. Israel has firmly denied the genocide allegations, defending its military actions in Gaza. In the related developments, Qatar announced it would hold its mediation efforts between Israel and Hamas after negotiations for a ceasefire broke down over the weekend. So this is recent. I covered it yesterday. When we talk about Iran, and that's why I said Iran is running out of money. So the government in Iran began implementing rolling power blackouts across the country, including 2 hours per day in Tehran, as the country experiences a natural gas shortage. That's where Saudi Arabia is coming in. Because you know what they have? What Iran is lacking. So that's why that statement against Israel won bonus points with Iran. You know. PA, Bonnie says, was still counting votes until 5 p.m. today, was on live stream with the women's group that assisted today for Casey. Interesting. Oh, that's good. Yeah. Are they still counting mail-ins, or are they also counting provisionals too now? Yeah, let us know, because remember when I was covering the election night, we said that they can start counting provisionals, I think, on the 12th only. Today is the 12th. So that's a very good question, Jack. Very good. Now, EU, Kaya Kallas, which I admire and adore, she is now the leader for policy in European Union. So she said, victory of Ukraine is a priority for us all. The situation on the battlefield is very difficult. That is why we must keep on working every day. This must be underpinned by a clear path for Ukraine to join European Union. Again, European Union is a union based on, it's an economic union, right? NATO is defensive. So we're pitching in so we can defend each other and ourselves and, unite. European Union is more economically seen as a union. When it just started in 2000, I lived in Germany, and I remember we had Deutsche Mark, and let's say something was 1 mark, and then next day it was 2000, January 1st at midnight, we converted to euro, and euro was like 2 Deutsche Mark to 1 euro, so twice as expensive, and the prices stayed the same. They just changed the sign, and the entire folk in Germany, everybody just got 50% poorer, and everything was 50% more expensive. I'll never forget that night. This New Year thing, oh my God. We went to the store and now everything was double in price, and you had half as little money. And so Germany was certainly, they called donors and receivers. And so Germany up to today has been a donor. And has been really investing into sustaining Spain and Italy. Italy was in default economically for a long time. And then they were supporting also Poland and Baltic states when they joined. So Germany and France, and at that time England, were big donors, and which prompted England for Brexit. Whether it was good or bad, let's not discuss it. But the point is, that's where the story is. And so let's watch this video, very refreshing, straight up talk about Ukraine joining European Union.
Victory of Ukraine is a priority for us all. The situation on the battlefield is very difficult. And that is why we must keep on working every day, today, tomorrow, and for as long as it takes, and with as much military, financial, and humanitarian aid as needed. This must be underpinned by a clear path for Ukraine to join the European Union. What we fight here is the European security and the European principles, This is our defense of the UN Charter and the global principles behind it. As soon as we escaped the Soviet prison, we joined the European Union and NATO. We vowed that we would never be alone again. Together, we are so much stronger.
And of course, she's referring to Estonia. That's where she's from. Now, France will transfer now 6 Mirage 2000 5F fighter jets to Ukraine in the first tranche, doubling the previously stated number of 3, according to media reports. So instead of 3, now they're getting 6. Now, Sweden has also committed to sending Gripen aircraft as soon as Biden administration grants approval for the use of U.S. components in these jets, a clearance that is currently blocked. The same holds for 2 ASC-890 aircraft already donated, which are also awaiting White House approval. And that's why Ukrainians get so frustrated, because when when countries donate something, there is still limitation on components. And you see here, Sweden is ready to donate jets, or has already donated some type of jets, and still there is an embargo. There is a ban on providing it to Ukraine or for Ukraine to use it and take advantage of it, even though Ukraine is now fighting 2 countries, literally, North Korea and Russia. So on their land, 3rd year in a row. So lifting bans on components, that would be, a first thing to do, aside from allowing Ukraine to strike on long range, right? Which, we rarely talk about the component situation, which is really not good. Now, meanwhile, Zelensky has reported that, or stated that 50,000 troops have been amassed near Kursk region. And he said that many of these Russian troops are actually North Korean soldiers. Following the recent ratification of mutual defense pact between Moscow and Pyongyang. So that is reality. 50,000 more. I understand their fate. We all know it. But Ukraine is fighting 2 countries. So why can't anything be lifted? And that's what President Biden can do before he leaves and before holidays. Why not? They're in winter. Imagine fighting in winter. So, Now, remember Navalny, Navalny's widow, and we all admire and we honor the memory of Navalny. And he is a hero in his own right. But he would always say that Crimea is Russian and he would take it away from Ukraine, which Ukrainians will never forget. Which leads us to this. Navalny, who lives in the US and has a nonprofit, she spoke at the WEP Summit in Lisbon. And there were Ukrainians. And so this is the biggest web summit in Europe. And so the leaders of the most prominent web design companies and, cybersecurity, they're attending this summit. And so when she was speaking, Ukrainians activated their phone and let it ring with the sirens. When Ukraine is under attack, a siren goes off. And so they didn't mute their phones, and to show her what they're dealing with. Later on, Ukrainian journalist, asked her if she is against the war. She said, yes, I'm against the war. I'm against the Putin regime, which was a very easy question. Ask her, whose is Crimea? But take a look. It's a very interesting type of protest. Entertaining, to say the least. Take a look.
And here's what is happening right now, right in front of our eyes. In the past 3 months, Apple has approved. But to say the truth, I'm very nervous because it's the first time when I'm at such big tech conference. And I'm surrounded by some of the brightest minds pushing our world forward.
I want to ask you the question if you support Russian war against Ukraine, because many Russians, and we see these polls, they're answering that they support.
Thank you so much. I don't support the war. In every my speech, I say that I don't support this war. I don't support Putin's regime.
Well, you don't support the war, but you don't mention the Ukraine or actual war in your speech, and then you saw it in the subtitles. She encouraged web companies to lift sanctions on ordinary Russians. I can show you those cheerful, ordinary Russians who are very happy, to fight Ukraine as long as their boys are not dying. And then, some are selling their boys. Okay, you guys are discussing the counts. Let's read it, because Bonnie is a superstar. She's right in Pennsylvania, but also very much an insider when it comes to voting count. So they're curing signatures, calling people so they could verify their vote. Wow. Okay. See, that's what's happening. And we're like, keep updating the VAP. And we're like, wow, that sounds long. Because people are working. They're putting good work in. Casey lawyers were there. This was in Lehigh Valley. Okay. They estimate 30,000 statewide needed. There's also military absentee votes to count if it's much closer. Fingers crossed. Okay. All right. Go EU. Yes, Jay. Yeah, that was to the EU video. Well, if Biden hasn't allowed those weapons to be used, don't expect Trump to do anything different, maybe even worse. Exactly. I have no, but I'll show you in a second what Ukraine thinks. Now, speaking of Trump, Waltz, the one with the T, the upcoming national security advisor, according to Trump's nominations, that is what he said about Ukraine joining NATO, or actually not joining NATO. Take a look, and then I have some points to counter.
I would not be in favor of bringing Ukraine into NATO right now for a couple of reasons. Number one, they're actively in a war. So as soon as they are in NATO, that triggers Article 5, and that pulls in not only U.S. troops, but all NATO member troops into the war with Russia, with a nuclear power. But number two, I'm not in favor of expanding NATO any further beyond Finland and Sweden, who, by the way, both contribute more than 2% to their national defense, until the rest of NATO gets its act together. I mean, right now we're sitting at 9 out of the 32, including the 2 new members. Only 9 out of 32, Jake, contribute 2% of their GDP, which they all pledged to do a decade ago. Look, at the end of the day, we cannot continue, the United States taxpayer cannot continue to subsidize European defense. They're having their cake and eating it too. The U.S. is paying for defense. They're paying for their social programs. And then finally, every member has to be able to contribute to the collective defense of all others. And obviously, Ukraine is not able to do that right now. They're not able to contribute to the collective defense of others. So I think it's the right call for them.
Is Jake Tapper smart? You're a journalist. This guy has an agenda, but you have the facts. No? Why are you saying yeah? Well, here. First of all, he said 9 allies in NATO contribute 2% of their defense, 2% of their GDP. Each country is different size-wise. Currently, just over 2/3 of NATO members, 23 out of 32, have fulfilled the 2% commitment and will collectively spend $1.47 trillion on defense this year alone. This is up from just 10 countries meeting the guideline in 2023. Who did that? Biden did that. Okay? Walt, I hope you remember. Number 2, nobody writes blank checks to Ukraine. Most of the finances allocated are used to replenish Pentagon stockpiles. And where is all of that produced? When Pentagon is ordering missiles or F-35s or drones or anything, all this fancy AI stuff, where is it produced? In the United States. So all this money is actually going to major part to jobs. Waltz. So you want to kill that? You're going to have a lot of unemployment going up. And then you're going to wonder, what the hell happened? How is it related? It is. Number 3, I'm going to read out to you what NATO Article 5 says, because everybody is like, NATO Article 5, Article 5, Article 5. It's like as if it was the ultimate thing that puts everybody in World War III. So are you ready to listen to the actual quote? Okay, so it says, if a NATO ally is the victim of an armed attack, each and every other member of the alliance will consider this act of violence as an armed attack against all members and will take the actions it deems necessary to assist the ally attacked. Where does it say ally was attacked? Militaries immediately on standby, attacking the enemy that attacked our ally. None of it. It says they will decide together, where one member can veto the entire crap. They will decide on the measures they deem necessary. How it is not what is exactly happening right now in regards to Ukraine, because they see military aid, not troops and boots on the ground, as necessary measure. So how would that change? For that reason, we need actual news. We need actual quotes. Stop scaring people with World War III. What bullshit is this? Now, number 4. He also added that Ukraine isn't able to contribute to NATO financially. Now, think about it. Maybe it's because Ukraine is fighting a war 3rd year in a row. 3 years. February 23rd, 24th. Ukraine was 24th, here was 23rd. Time difference. We're a month away from the 3rd anniversary. Do you think that is what affected their economy? What do you think, Walls? Can you guess? Maybe? Now, Ukrainians, I told you yesterday, they're cutting pieces of video. It goes viral. They say Walls says something very wonderful. And they're sharing very, enthusiastically this snippet of an article where he gave an interview to NPR, where he said, about Trump, he's very focused on ending the war rather than perpetuating it, and really crafting a strategy, blah, blah, blah. Now, he says, and first and foremost, you would enforce the actual energy sanctions on Russia. Russia is essentially a gas station with nukes. Putin is selling more oil and gas now than he did pre-war through China and Russia. And you couple that with unleashing our energy, lifting our LNG ban, and his economy and his war machine will dry up very quickly. And then he says, we have leverage, like taking the handcuffs off of long-range weapons. We provide Ukraine as well. Now, and Ukrainians are sharing it, and they're saying Kiev will be full of MAGA hats because we love Waltz, and once he's in, this is our savior, blah, blah, blah. Have you ever heard of this brilliant idea that politicians can say one thing and then once they're elected do another thing? Rubio said that Trump was a piece of what in the debate against Trump in his presence, and now he will be Secretary of State. Will he say the same thing? No. Will Walls, maybe he had this brilliant idea. First of all, unleashing and changing the entire oil market. Arabic folks are not going to like it. Russia certainly is not going to like it, but that nobody's going to allow that, okay? Because if we unleash the oil production and drill, baby, drill, and whatever, we're changing the pricing of oil. The more, the supply and demand, we will be lowering the price of oil for everybody. And, what's that going to do? Saudi Arabia is not going to like it and whatnot. So for this reason, very interesting idea. But what I'm more concerned of is when Ukrainians take something out of context, share it. Now, everybody's talking about MAGA hats all around Ukraine just because you read something that somebody said at some point. Now, I showed you a video. He said exactly the opposite. So Wait and see. At least wait and see. And if you don't understand that Trump is not going to do that, I don't know how to help you. Which hope is good, you know. Now, NATO chief Mark Rutte said, we must do more than just keep Ukraine in the fight. We need to raise the cost for Putin and his enabling authoritarian friends by providing Ukraine with the support it needs to change the trajectory of the conflict. So he was in Paris today, and he met with Emmanuel Macron, the president of France, and they discussed the need to step up support for Ukraine, ramp up defense production, and boost transatlantic defense industrial cooperation. So here's a video. Take a look.
We must recommit to staying the course for the long haul. And we must do more than just keep Ukraine in the fight. We need to raise the cost for Putin and his enabling authoritarian friends by providing Ukraine with the support it needs to change the trajectory of the conflict.
Yeah. And Bonnie, you're right. He needs to read the NATO Accords, not just pull stuff out of a head. And that's what everybody does. And Jack, to your point, sounds like Ukrainian MSM is as bad as ours. Indeed. And I have talked to German politicians who said we need actual news because, you know, we are lacking transparency. Their government collapsed and everybody is lying. And that's how they actually arrived at the collapse, because everybody was lying. So everybody was pushing me towards this app thing because we're going to add more voices very carefully, more voices inside the US and more voices internationally so people can get actual news. But this, especially the YouTube fiasco yesterday, that pushed me towards it, and I'm grateful. Sometimes you need a kick in the butt to decide on something which will be good for all of us. A says, hope the Trump admin comes to where? Their senses about supporting NATO. Yeah. Well, no, yeah. Everybody's lying to you. Yeah, exactly. Okay. So Japan. Now, this is funny. Okay. You want to hear something funny? This is funny. Now, Japan divided legislature votes to keep Ishiba as prime minister. So Ishiba Shigeru, who secured the leadership of Japan's Liberal Democratic Party, the LDP, in September, he faced a setback when a snap election he called last month resulted in the LDP coalition losing its parliamentary majority. Now, however, in a vote held yesterday, Ishiba defeated the lawmaker from Constitutional Democratic Party of Japan, ensuring his continuation as prime minister. Now, this is not funny. Now comes the funny. Shigeru, leader of Japan's ruling Liberal Democratic Party, was seen napping in parliament on Monday as he was re-elected. Literally, the votes were announced that he's winning, and the guy was like, pretty much asleep. Take a look.
石破総理はお疲れの様子で、隣の林官房長官や麻生元総理もこの表情。
Maybe that's what we're going to see during the, what do you call this thing? Inauguration. You know, or State of the Union, something like that. Vance delivers it, the other guy just sleeps. One can dream. Now, Blinken will attend, or is attending right now as we speak, key international summits in Europe and the Americas. So Secretary of State Blinken visits now Brussels on the 12th and 13th for meetings with NATO and EU counterparts to discuss continued support for Ukraine amidst Russia's aggression. He then will travel to Lima, Peru, and Rio in Brazil from November 14th to 19th to join President Biden at the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation, APEC, Economic Leaders Week, and the G20 Leaders Summit. At the APEC, Blinken and U.S. Trade Representative Catherine Tai will engage with officials on promoting inclusive growth in Asia Pacific. At the G20 Summit, Blinken will join discussions on global challenges such as hunger, poverty, energy transition, and reforming global governance. Now, in terms of UN, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres, the one who was bowing to Putin and accepting Taliban to speak on climate, he speaks on climate. So he said today that leaders gathered in Baku, Azerbaijan, for the COP29, the Climate Action Summit, must take immediate steps to cut emissions, safeguard people from climate chaos, and tear down the walls to climate finance in response to the masterclass in climate destruction that the world has witnessed in 2024. My question is, I agree. Have you said that to Putin when you were bowing? How's Russia doing on emissions? Do they care? What is Taliban doing, holding speeches at this summit? The Taliban. What do they care about climate? They are stoning women for showing their hair. There was a girl who was harassed. She removed her clothes, walked on campus, and then was detained, and who knows what happened to her, and we kind of unfortunately can guesstimate. The terrorist organization recognized by major countries such as US and Europe and the West. You're accepting them to speak? And then you dare to talk about climate? Ugh. Talking about Taliban. Guess with whom Taliban wants to start a new chapter? Yes. I give you a second. Maybe you read the newsletter and then you're going to be like, I know. No matter what happens, my afternoon nap should be disturbed, Japanese. Yeah, exactly. Right. So with whom is Taliban renewing their everything? China. Yash says China. Okay. All right. Well, not right. So Taliban seeks new chapter in relations with Trump administration. A senior official from Afghanistan's Taliban government told Bloomberg that they are looking to reset their relationship with Trump administration, including the release of $9 billion in frozen foreign exchange reserves. As the Taliban strives for international recognition, it held formal talks with India last week, the I in BRICS, and sent a delegation to the ongoing UN Climate Summit for the first time. So, should have guessed. Yeah, Jack, I feel you. Now, Secretary of Defense Austin is visiting Australia, Philippines, Laos, and Fiji this week to strengthen U.S. alliances and partnerships in the Indo-Pacific. Translated, last reminder, don't F it up, boys. His trip includes multilateral meetings with regional allies, engagement with U.S. Marines in Darwin, and discussions with Philippine leaders on security. In Laos, Austin will attend ASEAN defense ministers meeting and promote U.S.-Asian cooperation. He will conclude his trip in Fiji, marking the first visit by U.S. Secretary of Defense to the country to deepen bilateral defense ties. This visit continues efforts to enhance regional security and U.S. relationships in the Indo-Pacific. So since Indonesia switched to the dark side, we need allies, right? Anything for the money. They want cash unfrozen. Exactly. And if out of 9 billion, 9 billion, they give 1 to Trump, do you think he's not going to do it? And now on MAGA, not quite. So oil giant Exxon Mobil, remember like the gas station, Exxon with the 2 X's? Anyway, opposes Trump's plan to pull out of the Paris Climate Agreement, a company spokesperson told CNN in a statement, quote, a second U.S. exit from Paris Climate Agreement will have profound implications for the United States' efforts to reduce its own emissions and for international efforts to combat climate change, the ExxonMobil spokesperson told CNN in a statement. Continued, we advocate for policy that accounts for security, affordability, and reliability, and environmental stewardship, not drastic changes that could hinder the progress being made today. Now, when oil company is warning you about climate goddamn change, that must be the, something was hitting the fan. Now, on those appointments and see it as is. We don't know how many Scaramucci's those people will last. Trump and Elon are pushing for bypassing Congress and calling these people Tsar. That's the idea. They're not just fan gazing, Russia. They're calling them Tsar because they try to avoid the Senate votes and approvals and speeches, right? They tweeted it. I showed it yesterday. So Trump appointed, he picked his director of national intelligence. He appointed John Ratcliffe to serve as director of the Central Intelligence Agency. Ratcliffe is a close ally of Trump, served as director of national intelligence at the end of his first term, Trump's first term. Ratcliffe was confirmed as the nation's top spy in May 2020, 8 months before Trump left office. A former member of the House of Representatives and U.S. Attorney for Texas, he received no support from Senate Democrats during his confirmation. Isn't Indonesia saying they are neutral? Those islands spread out, hard to manage gangster. Well, neutral meaning do whatever you want, but they signed a military cooperation with China, which that's not neutral. That's everything else but neutral. Yeah. Okay. So President-elect Trump said on Tuesday he was nominating former Arkansas Governor Mike Huckabee as the next U.S. ambassador to Israel, tapping a staunchy pro-Israel conservative whose choice could signal future U.S. policy toward conflicts in the Middle East. And Marco Rubio openly stated, a few months back, that he is all in favor of getting rid of Iran, let's bomb them. And then the reporter said, well, but what about the Gaza civilians? Well, they chose to be used as human shields, so now you face the music. And please post it, he said. Please post it. So that's the new Secretary of State. So it aligns. Those people with From the River to the Sea who voted for Jill Stein, congratulations. Now, the new envoy to Middle East is picked, and this guy, literally, you remember when Trump was joking with Netanyahu that Gaza will be the new Monte Carlo because it's by the water, it's gorgeous, blah, blah, blah. Kind of looks like that's going to manifest. So for the envoy to the Middle East, Trump picked Stephen Charles Witkoff, an American real estate investor, landlord, and founder of the Witkoff Group, as the special envoy to the Middle East. That's how he announced it. Well, his expertise is pretty much to successfully lead the financing, repositioning, and construction of over 70 properties in major business districts in the U.S., as well as abroad, with offices in New York, Los Angeles, and Miami. So if that's not real estate choice, I don't know what it is. What does he have to do with the Middle East? He never even worked with the Middle East. Hell yeah. King of Vegas. Oh, God. Oh, God, Jay. Thank you. I didn't know that. All these people, the felon is appointing, no surprise to us, are far beyond unqualified. Exactly. It's just like a reality show. He's building a reality show. And again, we don't know how many Scaramucci's all of this will be, lasting, and he can reappoint everybody before even January 20th. So take it with, just one step at a time. So he appointed also Pete Hegseth to serve in the cabinet as Secretary of Defense. Now, this guy is an American television host and author. You may know him from Fox and Friends Weekends. This guy on the right. That's the guy who famously stated he hasn't washed his hands for the past 10 years because, quote, if I don't see the germs, they don't exist. He will lead Pentagon. There are many enemies who you don't see and they exist. Cybersecurity. Anyway, this is how he explained it. He said he wrote a book, The War on Warriors, spent 9 weeks on the New York Times bestsellers list, including 2 weeks as #1. The book reveals the left-wing betrayal of our warriors and how we must return our military to a meritocracy. He did go on tour. So let me see, where is it? Pete, blah, 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 blah. Pete is a graduate of Princeton University, has graduate degree from Harvard. He is Army combat veteran who did tours in Guantanamo Bay, Iraq, and Afghanistan. For his actions on the battlefield, he was decorated with 2 Bronze Stars, as well as a combat infantryman's badge. So, but he has been with Fox News for 8 years. Also, very interesting story is that in 2021, Hegseth was removed from his National Guard duty, securing Biden's inauguration after failing vetting. And so after investigation, according to CBS News reporter Jim Laporta on Twitter, the Pentagon eventually confirmed Hegseth was one of the National Guard members mentioned in this story here by AP. 2 Guard members made extremist statements about inauguration. And this was January 19th, 2021. So now here's a video that was today on CNN about purging generals. Again, see it as is and just know that generals will never let this crap slide. Take a look.
Joining us now, former U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations and National Security Advisor for Donald Trump, John Bolton. Mr. Ambassador, good to see you. So the Wall Street Journal is reporting of a draft executive order that's been presented to the Trump transition team that would establish a, quote, warrior board of retired senior military personnel who would have the power to review 3- and 4-star generals and admirals and to recommend removals of any of them deemed unfit for leadership. The Trump transition team, when we asked them about this Wall Street Journal report, responded to CNN's request for comment on this by saying, quote, the American people reelected President Trump by a resounding margin, giving him a mandate to implement the promises he made on the campaign trail. He will deliver, unquote. What's your take on this?
Well, I haven't seen the text of the supposed order, but I would say that one of America's most important achievements in governance is really to have made the military totally non-political in our history. It wasn't always that way. There were fits and starts, but we really have reached a point where the military believes its oath is to the Constitution and not to the holder of the presidency. And I understand there are concerns about things the Biden administration did in the woke area in the military, and there's a way to solve that particular problem, and that's to sit the generals down and say, there's a new sheriff in town, we're not doing that woke stuff anymore. I think they would say.
Generals, 2- 3-star generals who worked in the military towards their, retirement, they're woke. Bolton, sit your butt down. That just makes no sense. And also, don't aggravate military. As I told you before, they're very much united. And the sheriff, yes, might be the new sheriff in town in 2 months. But you know how many sheriffs they have seen in their life defending our country, sacrificing their lives, losing their loved ones, time with their loved ones, but also their friends in combat. Do you think they will care about this goddamn new chief in town who will screw their entire life and pension? Who will review them? And what are you talking about, woke? Wake up. You don't seem awoken at all. Sleepwalking into fascism. Jake never push back on GOP Tapper. Exactly. What's the woke era? Yeah, exactly. Stupid shit. And I really don't wonder how the woke military feels about Putler all up in the USA bit. Exactly, right. Walking right into fascism, talking about woke stuff. They'll say yes, then do their military thing. They don't like civilians barking BS at them. Exactly, Bonnie. Yeah, their hopes and dreams on that. Now, remember yesterday, Trump used Florida folk to go and be appointed in his administration. So there's one seat in Florida. And the MAGA is growing pressure, or there's a growing MAGA pressure campaign on Florida's Governor Ron DeSantis to appoint Laura Trump as U.S. Senator to fill Marco Rubio's spot as he becomes Secretary of State. Earlier today, Senator Katie Britt, that weird kitchen lady, and Florida Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna, that just was really butt kissing with Biden anyway. MAGA influencer Benny Johnson and other came out publicly in support of the dear leader's daughter-in-law. Well, I guess they don't need RNC anymore, so no election. Why do you need to headline RNC? Blah. Now, actual news, Trump did nominate Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy for Department of Government Efficiency, which is Doge. It explains you why they did it. If you take a look at the Doge leader's tweets, he said, the merch will be fire. It's bullshit. Then he also promised that he's going to take away money that's invested into housing, education, healthcare, and the government eating the entire economy. So if he claims if you take all of that away, people can chase the American dream. I immigrated to the United States not thinking that being homeless is an American dream. A bunch of shit. Sorry, I'm losing. I don't want to be banned. Okay, so he says here with capital great Elon Musk working in conjunction with American patriot Ramaswamy will lead Department of Blah. So now together these two wonderful Americans will pave the way. Main thing here is that it will become potentially the Manhattan Project of our time. Republican politicians have dreamed about the objectives of Doge for a very long time. To drive this kind of drastic change, Department of Government Efficiency will provide advice. Now, this is important here, and guidance from outside of government. Why outside of government? Why? Because then it doesn't prompt Elon to sell his companies. Sell Twitter, sell Tesla, sell Starlink and all that kind of stuff, or SpaceX. So outside the government. So outside the government, you're going to tell us what to do. To do what? And so what they're saying is that they will work together to liberate our economy and make U.S. government accountable to we the people. Their work will conclude no later than July 4th, 2026. So he here puts a limit on Elon to deliver, because July 4th, 2026, you're bouncing, honey bunny. And by that time, he wants smaller government with more efficiency and less bureaucracy. $6.5 trillion of government spending. That's where they want to drive out the massive waste and fraud. Fraud like Medicare, people having food and little money and, surviving. A viral post from Truth Social. How do I know it? Because I'm stupid and I have this goddamn app. Went viral yesterday. They want to make this fella honorary veteran because he took allegedly a bullet. Now this is funny. Remember the Fox News 5 at 5 or whatever that thing is? I never watched it. I just see clips. But Jesse Waters, right? The one that cheated on the wife and said that, he would see it as betrayal if his wife were to vote for Kamala Harris, blah, 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 blah. Now, he shares his intimate experience with his family upon the election. Let's get the smallest violin. And let's watch this clip.
Yep, people are taking some space in the Waters household. I'll have you know that I was not invited to my mother's house for Thanksgiving. Apparently, there wasn't enough room. She said it was a scheduling situation, and then at the last second invited me to come over on Black Friday. I told her no thanks, I'll be at Best Buy.
You'll be crying a whole damn river. His mother, his sister, and they don't want to see him for Thanksgiving. Well, there's hope. Well, I assume those women are the two white women that I guess maybe voted for Kamala Harris, because everybody else seems to fail us. It's very embarrassing. You have to introduce yourself in a different way when you enter a room. It's like, I'm one of the decent ones. Disgusting. I still thought Leon was going to be the Fallon's new VP. Where's the heck is Vance? Vance is nowhere to be found. Well, he was 2 days ago. He did a tour in the Congress, literally a tour that I took with my parents when we were there playing tourist. just you walk around the Congress building, and he had his kids and his wife that is allegedly to be deported, right? Yeah. Iraq USPS selling off post offices, cutting jobs, likely new bargain basement cake of National Park Month. It's actually interesting because at some point, because I was reporting on it, Biden issued a statement where they want to repurpose old USPS buildings that don't have much business into affordable living. Just off the bat, might be the issue. So they were referring to rural areas. So maybe that's the key. I don't know. That's it. So I saw this video. I hope this woman is not sick. I hope she's just fine. But take a look. There's a woman who was commenting on business and like great investments. She looks like I feel.
A lot of people are, of course, celebrating over it and touting about how great it is. But of course, there's the other angle of this participation rate. Explain that to us and why we need to look at that.
Absolutely. Well, we're in a very good position to talk about what's going on in the job market. We work with a lot of Fortune 1000 organizations, and we get a good pulse on what's ramping and areas of growth. We also work with quite a few staffing firms, and they're kind of the first ones to experience that growth. We're seeing tremendous growth here at DigiMe.
Hope she's, again, healthy. But that's how I feel deep inside. That's it, guys. That's it. So again, to our news, our app is to be up from November 22nd on. All right. So like-minded people, safe environment. We don't have any trolls because everybody has to sign up to the newsletter. You don't have to be a paid subscriber, but you have to be subscribed to get the invite. First will be beta version and blah, blah. We have articles there, we have newsletters, we'll have videos, there's live streams, short videos, we have the forums, we have the timeline, so you can chit chat. It's free. My point is to have our safe space. I don't trust anybody. I know Blue Sky is wonderful, and I will be on Blue Sky, and I am on Blue Sky. Speaking of Blue Sky, perhaps you may follow me there. It changed to 3 and some thousand followers. Nowhere by far near X yet, but same Honest Press on Blue Sky, same on Threads. I woke up today to a bunch of emails that there were several attempts to hack me on Threads. Zuckerberg-ish story, but I'm verified, so they protected the account, and they kept calling me, is it you, is it you? But my phone was on mute. It was like 3 a.m., 4 a.m. It's like, what the hell are you calling me? But anyway, so they didn't succeed. But having a safe space for actual news, for like-minded people, and also what I want us to do is, yes, resist politically, policy-wise. Let's be smart and let's resist and let's fight and prepare for midterms. One thing. Another thing, let's challenge our anxiety, if you will, and any energy into learning something new, preparing for what's to come, and be smart. So for that reason, we're going to have expert town halls. We're learning about, we're going to have experts. You don't have to pay anything. You're joining. That's through the app thing, okay? Private town halls. You can have Q&As. Experts will be teaching us on legal matters, on financial matters, on sustainable living, on stress management, on mental wellness. We're going to just have the short town halls where we learn from actual experts and prepare to be better and do better next year. And of course, as this new administration ramps up. So, work comes in and rolls over us. So be smart, we'll be resisting, but also we'll be learning something. So my thing is, I thrive in positive-minded environment. I'm not naive, I'm realistic. That's why I'm saying as is, but I will never promote drama and the clickbait. I don't give a damn about it. That's why I'm not monetized. I'm not doing all of this for clicks and shits. I want it to be actual news, where if it rings your phone, you know exactly something was there that is worth your time and that it will not skyrocket your blood pressure. Okay? But we stay factual, which is very important. So those are my announcement. So if you know any experts who are a good fit, they can promote their company. I do understand that people want to promote themselves. Very welcome. It's not promotional. It's all about positive knowledge. But certainly they can share links or whatever by the end of their session. And if you know any experts, my pinned post on Threads, on Blue Sky, on X is about that. So you can click a link or share it with anybody who you know. Small businesses are very welcome. Women, minorities, first priority. So please ask them to tap RSVP, and then they can fill out the form. Okay? And Bonnie, you're absolutely right. Helps us to stay grounded. Yes. Yes, 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 yes. Jack, thank you all very much. Looking forward to that. I follow you on both Twitter and Blue Sky. Very much appreciate your input on foreign policy. Thank you, Jack. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. Disruptive media landscape. Yeah, Vivian. Yes. Led by all of us. We show in numbers. There's trolls both on Blue Sky and Substack. Everybody who had followers. Exactly. Yeah, I saw it on Substack. Thank you, Sierra Ferris. Thank you. Ruby, yay. Yeah. Looks like AI with the eyes, maybe. I hope that was the eyes were with AI. Anyway, it's late. So thank you so much, guys. Thank you, Bonnie, for sharing my post. I appreciate you. Thank you for your support. Thank you for following. We're gonna see each other tomorrow night. And stay safe, stay sane. Protect your wellness here, because we have to be, happy and healthy. Well, if not happy, then at least healthy. Okay. All right, we're done. Have a wonderful night and see you tomorrow.